She had lived in the ruins for 3 winters alone. Lyra was not like the others of her kind. She was a veilborn, half-human, half-ancient giant blood, standing nearly 7 feet tall, her skin faintly violet beneath the frost, her blonde hair tangled with snow and old braids. Her body was broad and powerful, built like the old statues the humans used to carve of their war goddesses. She wore scraps of leather and woven bark, barely enough for warmth, but she had long stopped caring about comfort. Comfort was for creatures who had someone waiting for them. The abandoned carnival behind her creaked in the wind. 3 rusted Ferris wheels groaned like old men. Snow fell in soft, silent curtains. Lyra knelt at the edge of a frozen puddle, pressing her massive hands into the ice, staring at her own reflection. Her jaw was sharp. Her eyes were the pale gray of a winter sky. Beautiful perhaps by some ancient measure, but not by the standards of the small, warm world of humans. "You are not breeding material," her mother had told her long ago. "You are too much. Too large. Too wild. No man of any kind will want to carry that weight with you." She had believed it. For 23 years she had believed it. Then came Selim. He stumbled into the ruins on the 4th morning of a blizzard, half dead. His armored jacket torn at the shoulder, blood frozen on his collarbone. He was human, completely, stubbornly human, with dark hair matted against his forehead and brown eyes that still held some stubborn fire in them despite the cold trying to kill him. Lyra saw him fall 20 feet from where she crouched. She should have left him. Humans brought trouble. They always had. Instead, she walked to him, lifted him like a child, and carried him inside the ruins of an old carnival ticket booth. She did not know why. Her hands simply moved before her mind could stop them. He woke 2 hours later to find her sitting across the small fire she'd built, watching him with those pale gray eyes. "You're," he started. "Big," she finished flatly. "I know. I was going to say warm," he said. "Your hands. When you carried me. They were warm." Lyra said nothing. But something shifted behind her ribs, something small and fragile, like a coal catching its first breath of air. His name was Selim Voss. He was a scout for a survivor settlement 3 days' walk south. He had gotten separated from his team during the storm. He was 28 years old, completely unremarkable in height, and absolutely unbothered by hers. He stayed for 3 days while the blizzard raged. On the first day he asked her questions, not the kind people usually ask, not "what are you" or "how strong are you?" but "what do you eat out here, and do you sleep on the ground, and does the cold hurt you the same way it hurts me?" On the second day she asked him questions back. She learned that he had lost people too. That loneliness was not unique to creatures of great size. That grief wore the same shape in a small chest as in a large one. On the 3rd day the snow slowed. He was supposed to leave. He started gathering his things. Lyra stood near the doorway, arms crossed, watching him the way she always watched things she expected to disappear. "You could come south," he said quietly, not looking up from his pack. "I would frighten your people." "Probably," he admitted. "But I'd rather have them frightened and you alive than you alone out here another winter." "Selim." She said his name like a warning. "I am not." He stopped, followed. "I am not made for the life you are offering." He finally looked up. His brown eyes were steady and completely without pity, which was the only reason she did not look away. "I'm not offering you a life," he said. "I'm offering you company. We can figure out the rest." She went. It was not easy. The settlement stared. Children pointed. 2 men on the outer wall reached for their weapons before Selim stepped in front of them and said very calmly, "She's with me. Touch her and you lose the hand." No one touched her. Slowly, over weeks, then months, something extraordinary happened. People got used to her. She helped them reinforce the walls, her hands moving massive stones that would have taken 10 men a full afternoon. She learned the names of the baker's children. She taught the scouts how to move silently through snow the way the veilborn did, weight shifted low, breathing controlled. And every evening Selim sat beside her. Not below her. Not in front of her. Beside her. Like she was simply a person and he was simply a person, and the size difference was just a detail the world had added for no particular reason. One evening as the fire burned low, she said it out loud, the thing she had carried for 23 years. My mother told me I was not breeding material. That no one would want this. She gestured at herself. The broad shoulders, the enormous hands, the body that took up twice the space of anyone around her. Selim was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached up. He had to reach up and placed his hand against her jaw. She could have crushed his hand without trying. He held her face like it was something worth holding carefully. Your mother, he said gently, was wrong. She did not believe him that night. She believed him 6 months later, when she woke at dawn with a nausea she did not understand and walked to the settlement's only healer with shaking hands and came back to their shared shelter with news that broke every old story she had ever told herself about what she was and what she was worth. She stood in the doorway. Selim looked up from the map he was studying. He read her face in less than a second. He stood, crossed the room, and wrapped his arms around her. His arms that barely reached halfway across her back, and held her as tightly as he could, which was not very tight at all, but was somehow exactly enough. Too big, she whispered into his hair, old words rising like ghosts. Big enough, he corrected softly. Big enough to carry something the world needs. Big enough to have built something real. Big enough that I had to stand on my toes to reach you the first time I kissed you, and I would do it 1,000 times again. Lyra, who had not cried since she was 6 years old, cried. The snow outside fell gently. The old Ferris wheels stood silent in the distance, witnesses to everything. And in the ruins of a world that had told her she was too much, she finally understood that she had simply been waiting for someone big enough in heart to meet her where she stood.